Buongiorno and welcome. Today I'm cooking something really simple, really delicious and very Sicilian as always. I'm making some calamari rings in breadcrumbs fried on the hob. These are very affordable. I have purchased them, they're already frozen and they've been defrosting. And I will be coating them in breadcrumbs and I'll show you the mixture, but also in the same mixture I will be doing some potato bites, also fried on the hob. Absolutely delicious. So I'll make a start by getting my ingredients ready, and I'll be using some plain flour here, and these are some dried breadcrumbs. So I'll add enough to make my calamari, but also to make my potato bites, and a couple of eggs, which I'll break straight away into my bowl so that I can start putting the stuff away. I'll start with the eggs. I'll get them ready just by beating them quickly. And how you dress the breadcrumbs and the herbs you use is what is going to make your dish very successful. And I'll be marinating them with some herbs. Today I'm choosing to use rosemary, sage, and I'm going to get some parsley, which is in my freezer. And here they are, but I'll start by chopping my rosemary and sage first. And that is okay, it needs to be fine enough so that they can get attached to the fish and the potatoes. And as I will be doing potatoes also, obviously I'm making a little bit more than normal. So here is my parsley, and I will add it now. I didn't add it before because clearly it's already chopped and I'll be making a mess. I don't know why I added the parsley there when I could have actually gone straight into the breadcrumbs. Never mind. So in they go. This is a chili pepper, and it's mild. And you can also use chili flakes if you like, or no chili at all. But if you like chili, I would add it because it actually, especially if it's mild, it does actually give a little bit of a kick to your dish, and it makes it really, really nice. So a little chili pepper will not harm. Now it goes without saying, you cannot have a Sicilian marinade without garlic. So I will be using a big clove of garlic. Here it is. But I will be crushing this today, as I want the garlic to spread across the entirety of my marinade. So in it goes. I don't know, it looks like there wasn't enough there. I'm going to add a little bit more. Quantities as always personal, but we do like our garlic here, so I'm going to add a second medium clove. This is grana padano, and you can also use parmigiano. I would avoid using pecorino for this dish. I don't know, my view is that with fish, parmigiano or grana goes better. But of course, if you do not have any, you've got pecorino or you've got any other hard Italian cheese, use whatever you've got. But be quite generous with the parmigiano or the grana, because again, the cheese will really give a beautiful flavor and it will combine everything together beautifully. So here I've got about a couple of tablespoons. What goes really well with calamari is lemon, and I'm going to use a little bit of the zest from this lemon, and make sure that you just remove the yellow part. Do not go too deep and get the white stuff, because it's a little bit bitter and it will not spoil a dish, but it will not improve it. And I'll finish with a little pepper, but also a tiny little amount of salt. Not a lot, because I've already got the cheese in there, and this particular cheese is salty, so be careful. And all I've got left to do is just mix it together. And before you start, just close your eyes, breathe in, and it's amazing. The smell is so delicious. It's pure Mediterranean smell. As I said, I'll get all of the ingredients ready, and then I'll do all of the cooking at once. I moved on to the potatoes, and unlike me, today I'm actually peeling them. That is because they will receive exactly the same treatment as the calamari, and I will want to make sure that my breadcrumbs will stick to the potatoes. So obviously, if I was to leave the skin on, it will not be very clever. So I'm actually peeling them for a change. But as they will be coated in breadcrumbs, I don't want to cook them for very long. So I'm actually slicing them a little bit thinner than normal. If you look, they are not even a centimeter, or no more than a centimeter. And I'm now going along and I'm making little soldiers, the same thickness of the potatoes, literally 1 centimeter. So they are chip size at the moment. And as it is my intention not to cook them for very long, I'm chopping them into little cubes, something like this. And your children, by the way, will love this dish, even if they are not too keen on fish, because clearly the flavor will be totally different to anything else that they might have tried before. And I start with the calamari. I've placed them just as they are out of the packaging inside my bowl with the flour, and I'll mix them all together. They've got clearly lots of natural water anyway, so you do not need to do anything to them, especially if they're fresh, even better, but mine went. So just make sure that you cover them thoroughly with flour. Here is my egg mixture, so I'll move them into the egg next. And I've turned them around until they're totally covered by egg. I'll move this out of the way for my second round. So here are my breadcrumbs, and very simply just move them to the breadcrumbs. This time I'm using a spoon, otherwise I'll end up with very big fingers, and I'm covering everything with breadcrumbs. And these are ready to be fried. I'll give them a little shake so that any excess breadcrumbs go back into the bowl, and I'll carry on, and I'll repeat the whole process until I've done them all. And my calamari coated in breadcrumbs are ready. I am sure that you will agree with me. They look beautiful already as they are before I even cook them. So let's move on to the potatoes. Here they are. And again, potatoes have got moisture by nature, so you don't need to do anything to them, rather than chopping them, of course. And I will put them all in the flour first. However, I'll top them up with a little flour first and then mix it in together. Likewise, I think I'm going to need a third egg, so I will add it in and I'll mix it in. The good thing about recipes like this is that you can adjust quantities as you go along. I could have started with 3 eggs, but I wasn't too sure, so I start with 2 and I add a third one afterwards, so everything is perfect. And I add my potatoes in just like I did with the calamari, and I'll mix them all together to ensure that each piece of potato is coated in egg, just like the calamari. And here is my third and final step. In they go. Admittedly, I could have done with using a larger bowl, but it's too late, so it doesn't matter. I'll just take a little bit more time, but mix them until, just like the calamari, potatoes are covered in breadcrumbs. And what I like about this process is that the flour, the breadcrumbs and the egg will have inherited a little bit of the flavor from the calamari, and that flavor will be transferred to the potatoes, and I think it's quite nice, especially as we're eating them together. And I'm ready to make a start with the cooking, but as the potatoes will need to wait until the calamaris are cooked, I'm going to cover them so that they stay fresh. I'll go and get a hob and I'll make a start. You can tell that Julie's not here. I keep forgetting to turn the lights on, and also more importantly, my tortellino sign. I've got to remember so much when I do a video, and when you're on your own it's a little bit more difficult, but it's on now. Okay, so here's my hob, and I'll just turn it on. I'm going to add a decent amount of olive oil, enough to cover the surface of my pan, as this will obviously need to be used to fry the calamari. My temperature is on maximum at the moment, as I want the oil to get nice and hot first, so I'm testing it to see if it's ready. Not quite there yet, but I can see it's ready now, so I'll turn it on medium, otherwise it will burn my breadcrumbs and calamari, and I'll start adding them in. Very important that you do not rush this job. They are very delicate, they will not take long to cook anyway, and you want to make sure that they become beautiful and crispy, but also you don't burn them. And by keeping them on a medium temperature, you will achieve that, and you will cook them in no time at all. And look at this, my pan is just the perfect size for all of them. And as soon as you put them in, honestly, the smell is so good. If you have never tried eating calamari, because I've noticed that my fish-based videos, they do not do as well as some of the other dishes. But I think it's a misconception. This dish is absolutely fabulous. Even children love it. I used to love it as a child. Arguably I used to love most things, but most children love this. You will not be disappointed if you cook it. My hob is very powerful, so actually I've decided to turn the temperature down a little bit more, so I'm just below medium, and I'm starting to turn them around now. Look how beautiful they are. Literally about 3 minutes, that's all they've taken, and they are ready to be turned around. And if you take a little care as you turn them around, you will manage to retain the breadcrumbs attached to the calamari, and you will get that crispness I was talking to you about earlier. So another 3 to 4 minutes and they will be ready. And they're ready, and to ensure that I remove any excess oil, I've got a couple of pieces of kitchen paper, folded them together, and I'll start removing them one by one. And they are perfectly cooked, by the way. I'll show you this side. You can see that it's just the same. and because they are very tender, they do not take any time at all. Great, so here is my last one. I'll get a little bit more of my kitchen paper, another couple of pieces, and I'll place them on top like this, and I'll put them aside, and the paper will absorb as much excess oil as possible, and I'll make a starter with my potatoes next. So let's have a look at the oil. You can see that there is plenty there, so no need to top it up, but if you didn't have enough, you can add a little bit more oil. And of course this oil has got the beautiful flavor from all of the calamari I've just cooked, so that flavor yet again is going to be transmitted to my potatoes and in they go. Just like I did with the calamari, I'm keeping the temperature just below medium, and I'm making sure that they are well compacted so that they cook throughout. But with the potatoes, I'll place the lid on so that they cook evenly and faster, and the steam will obviously accelerate it. Also, I mentioned that I was going to give you a version for the oven if you fancy doing them in the oven. Very, very simple, actually even easier. All you need is obviously an oven tray, line it with some baking paper, sprinkle a little olive oil at the bottom, place your calamari in the paper, and actually if you want you can even mix the potatoes with it, or you can cook them separately, same principle though. And then a little bit more olive oil at the top, and place them in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, temperature of 190 degrees fan assisted, up by 20 degrees to 210 if you've got a normal conventional oven, and cook them until they're ready. Give them a little toast maybe halfway, and you will know that they're ready because especially the calamari, they will cook very quickly. If you do the potatoes as little as I did, they will cook in the same amount of time, but you can taste them and they will come out beautiful and golden in color. So that is your oven version. So this will take about 20 minutes. So in 10 minutes time I'll turn them around and I'll show you what they look like. 10 minutes in, so as promised, let's take a look. You will find that obviously as there is egg in there, they stick a little bit like a frittata, but just turn them around. I'm going to turn the temperature down a little bit further, but they are well on the way, and they smell beautiful, and you can see what I mean. They are turning golden in color, and that is the trick really, to keep the temperature as low as possible, but obviously you want them to turn crispy, because the breadcrumbs have got obviously a tendency of turning brown very quickly. Now I think I'm going to add a little bit more oil as they are looking a little bit dry, and then I'll give them a little mix once again. The lid goes back on, and they will be ready in 10 minutes. In the meantime, I'll go and make a little salad, tomato, mozzarella and so on, and then I'll see you once everything is ready. See you then. And as I mentioned, nothing special, very simple, like most Sicilian food. So here are some tomatoes which are just sliced, and I've done the same with a fresh ball of mozzarella. These are my homemade olives. I brought them back from Sicily when they were still green, and I have cured them, and I keep them in olive oil. There is a little video I've made which is available if you want, but they're really, really nice. And the oil I've used actually is also oil from Sicily, which was donated to me by Filippo, who owns the Frantoio, which is the oil mill where they make the oil. So that's my olives. And as this is a really, really good oil, it would be a shame not to do this. Little pepper and a little salt. And if you want to make it really Mediterranean, you can also add some fresh basil. Unfortunately, I haven't got any, so I will add a little slice of lemon to complement the fish. So let me go and get the fish. Everything is ready and I'll show you what it looks like. Fish, potatoes, and of course salad. And I've used my own little design to arrange them today. They look quite good, and I've got a couple left, so I will be able to tell you what they taste like just by having some from here. They're perfect taste, delicious, really, really tasty, crunchy and beautiful. I cannot say more. I'll try the potatoes, which I've cooked, and then I'll go. They are wonderful. Honestly, I can just imagine if you were to cook this for your children, if they're not keen on fish, they will love you forever. They will love you forever anyway, but they will love you more like this. Or your husband or your wife, whatever. Try and let me know how you get on. Thank you for watching and buon appetito. Ciao ciao.